And sir, this is your tarot reading for the month of May, coming from the mountains of Java. I know you've changed so much, but you can feel there's more change in the air, can't you? You're probably being a little bit cautious. I think cautious with your money. And I can't tell you that at a time like this, that's the wrong thing to be doing. But do reflect on it. Maybe it is. In the recent past was a time for celebration. Maybe you spent too much on celebrating. Maybe that's as simple as that. But I don't think it is. I think you're conscious of change and you don't know which way it's going. What you have discovered is that it's better to work with others. Work with others towards a common goal. And I think that's a very important lesson that you've learned. You yourself are scoring some victories and getting public recognition from it. And I think that does lead you somewhere important. And it's victories, so it's battles rather than wars. Now I think what would be the wrong thing would be to rush to conclusions. You are going to get a wonderful sense of direction, but you could rush to that sense of direction, or you could take it in small steps. And I think that being a little bit mean with your money is a part of that. Just being a little bit careful, taking small but steady steps. And if you do it that way, you will get this sense of balance, sense of direction, know where you're going, but also a sense of momentum. Where's it going to lead you? Well, it's going to lead you to having to make a choice. This is in the future. Could be a difficult choice. A choice whereby you can't tell which is the best. But I think it's something quite radical, quite a big change in your life. And, this month is all about us being aware of these changes. So overall, I'd say it looks positive to me. Now, the overall energy that runs through the reading is one of what could be called miserliness, being careful with your money. But I can't tell you that I feel it's inappropriate. We're all aware of massive changes. None of us can really tell which way things are going. God, you only have to look at this platform to see the fear porn about, I think every economy they're saying is about to collapse, Get out of this country before it's too late. Get out of that country. Well, what bloody country are you going to, So I can understand you being a little bit careful. And I think that's what it is. It's not so much miserly as cautious. Cautious, waiting to see what's happening. And being cautious as a result. And that probably isn't a bad thing, If any of us had a true sense of direction, and you do get that later, then maybe we wouldn't be so cautious. The recent past was a time of celebration. Time of celebration with family and friends. A time to be joyous. Now there's three ways of interpreting this. Firstly, I think most of us have been reminiscing recently. Reminiscing about how times used to be a lot better. Objectively better than they are now. But this is the recent past, so I'm not too certain that that's the correct interpretation of this. Another simply is that, you've changed and you were celebrating those changes that you've made, and so you should. So you should. It's no bad thing. I do hope, however, that it hasn't left you short of money, and that's the reason for your apparent miserliness. And I said there were three ways we could see this, but I think I've convoluted the last two. And that is, that you had a reason to celebrate, but has that celebration left you short of money? Maybe. I'm not sure, but I don't think any of it matters that much. It's just an energy that we're tapping into here. Well, I don't think this is the third interpretation I was thinking of, but now you're realising that you need to work as a team. And maybe that was the point of the celebration, realising that you work and play together. This is a sort of teamwork whereby you each have your skills. We're all different people. We can all do things differently. But when we come together, we can normally do them better than by ourselves. And I think that's an important realisation. So were you celebrating that? Maybe. Maybe that's what it was. Now in the future you have a decision to make. It's a big decision, very big, quite a radical decision, such as moving overseas, something like that. You can't really make your mind up. Can't really make your mind up what you should do, but you're thinking quite radically. You don't know which way to go, but you're giving it a lot of thought. Maybe it will come to you. But you're certainly planning something very, very important, something very, very radical. And given the amount of change there is in the world that we're all aware of, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think that's a very, very good response to the uncertainty. You've already made the changes in yourself. So I think you are ready to approach these major changes in your physical environment and your life. Now, as I say, I think we're all aware of major changes. And I don't know if you're like me, but every full moon at least, but other occasions as well, I think, the big change is coming now. And the truth is that these massive changes, and they are massive, but they're feeling more gradual than they are revolutionary. Maybe the revolutionary change is coming, but right now it's feeling gradual. And I think, you are making some gradual positive moves. We know you've changed yourself, positive things are happening. People recognise that you're doing positive things. Maybe others recognise more than you. But it's this gradual change in yourself that I think is going to lead to some really, really profound positive changes ultimately. Now I think this sort of gradual evolutionary change, reflecting on your victories, reflecting on what you've achieved, being thankful for them, is the key. Because if you're impatient, I think there's a chance you jump the gun. You get a sense of direction, get your ducks in a row, a sense of purpose, a sense of urgency, but could it be the wrong one? And I think there is a huge danger in that happening. So just look at where you've come from and recognise that even though it is very evolutionary at the moment, you have made huge changes. And when you can see it in that way, I think you're better able to comprehend what's going on and what your direction should be. Because, if you do approach it as evolutionary change, you do get a wonderful sense of direction, a sense of urgency, a sense of balance, a sense of absolutely knowing what you're doing. And I don't think this is half-cocked. So it's just gradually testing that you've got your understanding right. Moving a little bit forward, appraising if that's the right thing, and just keep this steady movement, and you will develop, as I say, this wonderful sense of balance, this wonderful sense of knowing where you're going, a determination, and as I say, that leads longer term to you planning something radical, planning something very different in your life. And I think that really is the clue to what's going on, not only just for you, Cancer, but for all signs. Maybe it's sort of a little bit different for each. It's different for every Cancer. But it is this approach to change and us accepting this change. Cancer, you've already changed so much. But I think there's more change coming. And that you somewhat have to change yourself. I think you're being very cautious at the moment, which is the right thing to do. You might be being a little bit miserly, but I think that just represents caution. I'm not going to criticise you for it. In the past, there was a celebration that's important. Maybe you spent too much on that celebration, and that's why you're being careful now. But I think it was about celebrating the fact that you've changed and recognising that you need to work with others, with family, with friends, etc. And that's just what you're doing now, working together to achieve a common goal. And within that framework, you yourself are scoring some victories. These are battles, not war. They're incremental, they're evolution. But others are looking to you and thinking, God, yeah, he knows what he's doing, doesn't he? Or she knows what she's doing. And I think you need to look towards that and look at where you've come from to recognise your own victories, but recognise what the probable direction you need to take is. There's a danger of you jumping the gun on it. There's a danger of you jumping to conclusions, jumping into action, and it's the wrong action. But if you do it steadily, you will get a marvellous sense of direction, marvellous sense of balance, and a sense of pace, like you're in control of things, even though you're not. And submitting is being in control though, and maybe you're beginning to realise that. And that will lead you to recognising that something very, very radical and different needs to occur in your physical life. So you made those mental adjustments, but now these are physical adjustments. Maybe it's moving somewhere overseas, I don't know. But you're certainly thinking of something like that. And I think it's very, very positive, Cancer, I really do.